Hello everyone, welcome to this channel tutorial again, and for today's session we're going to discuss how you can utilize both index and match function to perform even more powerful function compared to VLOOKUP. So for you who has not very familiar with index and match, I suggest you to watch the tutorial for index and match separately in the description below. But for now, let's dive in. So, just for a refresher, I'm going to try to, repeat how VLOOKUP works. So VLOOKUP function allow you to combine data sets, right? So for example, on the left, we have the data set for the student score for month of January, February, and March. And on the right side, we actually have the student name, student ID, but it's missing the February score. So VLOOKUP allow you to fetch the data from the first data set here into the second one based on the search key. In this case, we will utilize student ID because student ID is available on both data sets. Okay, so I'm going to use VLOOKUP. I will utilize the student ID here, and I will utilize A3 until D7 as a reference. And since we are looking for February score, which happened to be on the third column, first, second, and third, based on this reference, so we are going to put 3. And since we are looking for exact match, then we will utilize false. And there you go. Okay, so now you are getting the February score for each of the students here. So for the next one, we're actually going to use the index match function to get the same exact value. So we are going to have same objective here, to get the score in the month February for each student. But in this case, we are utilizing index and match. So first of all, to make it easier, let's break down the function. So I'm going to use match function first to locate the row and column location. Okay, so I'm going to use match, and the search key that we are looking for is the student ID, and then the range, which is the A3 until A7 here. Don't forget to make it as an episode reference. And then since we are going to look the exact match, we are going to put 0. Okay, so now we know the location of the row for each student. And the next one is, since we are looking for February, then we also need to locate in which column the February data is, right? So I'm going to use match function again, and I'm going to look for February. I will utilize this as a reference, B2 until D2. And then same, we will use 0 as an exact match. And now we know that the location for each student and the February score. So the February score of student A is actually happen on the first row and the second column, right? And now we're going to use index to pull those numbers. So I'm going to use the reference of B3 until D7. And then I will utilize the row here and the column. And then I will close the formula. And there you go. You get the same exact number with the one that we are using VLOOKUP, right? And later on, let's say you are very familiar with this function, then you don't need to break down the function like I did before. You can just use index and function directly in a formula. So I'm going to use the same reference, B3 and D7. And then I will define the row using the match function formula. Zero for exact match. And then I will look now for the column location. for February. And there you go. Now you get this same data, right? So this is how you will able to utilize index and match together. So now the question is, why we need to use index match instead of VLOOKUP? The VLOOKUP looks actually very simple. So the thing is, VLOOKUP actually has their limitation. So for now, let's say if I copy this data set again, and I put it here. Let's say I'm removing the data that we have. Okay. So the limitation of VLOOKUP is when you're utilizing the search key, you know, the one that available on both data set. On the reference, the search key need to be on the left side. So what happened is, let's say I change the sequence of the column here. Let's say I'm putting student column to this side. Let me fix this. So what happened is, when you change the sequence like this, the VLOOKUP will not work because now the search key is on the right side. So if I'm doing VLOOKUP again, and then I will highlight this data set, and since February score is on the second column, first and second one, then it will not work. Okay, but let's say I'm using index match. You can see that it will actually works, right? See, so basically using index match, like, it provides you with flexibility, right? So because in this case, if somehow in this case when you get your data the sequence is like this, you will need, if you still want to use VLOOKUP, then you will need to change or arrange the column sequence again. But using the index match, then you don't need to make any changes. And that's all. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next tutorial.